grandfather used to gamble actually on horses, and my dad got very interested, and my dad was the first brown skin to be admitted into the Newmarket School of Stud Management. My dad used to breed race horses, and then after my dad got into racing, I was always interested in actually learning, and I used to love being with the horses, but I never really enjoyed the racing industry, which is the conventional place to go if you want to work with horses. I always loved riding, and the riding school seemed like the logical evolution to do. So that's how we got into. That's how we set up the riding school with 4 retired race horses and 1 pony, and it kind of took off from there. Actually, the riding school was set up by my mum, and she had taken on these 2 Dutch partners, and they ran it into a big loss. The partners were basically in it to make money out of it, and they did exactly that. So in '98, when they set up, they ran the company into a loss of 16.5 lakhs, and just took off and vanished. So I actually came in to help shut down the riding school. I was in college then, and my mum sort of pushed me and said, why don't you join the business and help me wrap up? And in wrapping up, we realized that, maybe we can actually defer the wrap-up process and actually pay off a few people who we owe money, because we had like I said, we had 16.5 lakhs to pay back those days. So we started with the intention of, okay, sabka paisa wapas deke, we'll shut this down, and whatever, I'll go back to I was working for a computer firm those days. I used to be into building servers and networks and stuff, and at that point, it just 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and I said, okay, well, the business is taking off, this is becoming a lot of fun. We struggled a lot. It was like really seat of the pants days. We were literally living on a week to week basis, and as the business built up slowly, it kind of became more and more, the challenge just kind of pushed. It took us about 4 years to really level out and to stabilize, but like I said, the money was always a challenge, and the temptation that I could go back to my old life, working for a computer firm, or working with technology, and have the money that I used to have when I had started, was always there. But the main thing was that I never have the life. I'd be sitting in that cabin, in that air-conditioned room, and not be able to be outdoors. So that was the biggest challenge again, the temptation. We stood our ground, and it never looked back. It took a lot of sorting out, because when you owe money and there's interest and you've got to make sure that the payments go out, it was easy. Then in about 5 years into the whole thing, we finally wrapped up. We managed to pay off. My mom decided to leave. She went to America, and that's when I took on the business entirely, whole and soul. And because then it was me alone, and I was younger, willing to take more risk, take chances, I did just that, and it worked out. I did one of the most non-conventional things is when we managed to start paying off. I was a very clear this thing that the money had to be managed with a lot of discipline. In the first year when I took over the business, I realized that what I did for the first year was, if I'd make money from whatever, let's say I got a riding lesson which gave me 500 rupees, I'd put that 500 rupees in my pocket, and then let's say I'd go out, I'd eat a vada pav worth 15 rupees or 10 rupees, and then I'd probably put gas in my car for something, and then this and that, but the thing is that money wasn't, I had already eaten into operating, money which should have been put back into the business. So I made it very clear that I would draw myself a salary, and whatever's money was the company's money was the company's money. Even though it's a private limited company, being the whole and soul of it, it was very easy for me to kind of just do what I wanted to do, because there's nobody really asking me. But the main problem was that I was very averse to taking on a loan, either from a friend or from family or from a institution. I was just paying off all these people's money which we had lost and we needed to make back. So we just hard discipline, very clear. We spent a lot of time, figuring things out. The main crack was was the main expense with horses is feeding them and maintaining them. So one of the biggest advantages is that I had a fair idea. My dad had taught me about how to manage the horse feed, right? So that's what we did. We just saved and built up slowly, kept putting money into recurring deposits, put a chunk together, pay it off. And I was very clear that I didn't want to expand the place. Like, okay, I know the business is doing well, so I'll take a 15 lakh or a 30 lakh or a 50 lakh rupee loan and then change the business overnight, scale it up, and then work at paying off the installment. I said, no, we will grow organically. So this year I have made X amount of money. 50% of that is going to go into a development budget and to build the place, and so much of it goes here, so much of it is there. So I guess the main way that we really managed our funding was with a very clear plan, say this is how we're going to go for 1 year, this is how we're going to go for 5 years, and so on. When we started Japalouppe, which is in '98, when I joined, and by 2000 I knew what was the game plan for this place. I remember 2005 I sat down and I did the master plan for this place, which is, and everybody found it a little funny that I was making a master plan, because even then a lot of people weren't sure whether the business would take off. This was my bread and butter. I had to put my brother through college because of, with the money that I made from Japalouppe. I had to pay for my dad's chemotherapy with the money that I made from Japalouppe. So I needed to make money. I had to plan my life accordingly. So it was a very clear. It was a very clear idea I'm also very clear. I'm 33 right now, and I want to finish all my development by the time I'm 50. At 50, this place will have been built and matured, and the business has matured, and then it will run on autopilot, and I will find a nice person who run the business smoothly, and I'll be able to come out in the morning, sit down look at my horses, and have a cup of coffee and not have to worry about anything. So we started with 4 horses, and we've moved on. Now we have 49, and we had actually hit a point where we had come to 62, so then I started downsizing. We're down to 49, and 4 mares of mine are pregnant, so we'll have 53 by March. The reason why we downsized was one of the core things that I believe in is that these are my babies. I need to be able to look at them every day. I need to be able to know what's happening. And when we went past it, we expanded a little too aggressively, and I realized that, okay, the business was doing great, but I was not connecting. I didn't know my horses the way I used to know them. And horses are intelligent, thinking animals. And you need to know what's happening inside. That's when you'll get a horse to really give you 100%. You need to know its mind, you need to know how they react, they have very strong social systems. So who is the higher horse, who is the lower horse, what is the politics of the pack, who's friends with who, and based on that, you can actually get them to work much better. So there's a lot of things that I realized that maybe it wasn't, growing to such a scale wasn't the best of things, and it had stopped being fun. My fundamental is very simple. If I earn, hypothetically, 10 lakhs a month, I'll be working hard for it to get 10 lakhs a month, and I'll probably spend 3.5 lakhs trying to have fun in the 4 or 5 off days that I had. Instead of that, I would rather take that 6.5 and have fun all 30 days of the month. Like I said, see, the main trick, the main thing why we have people who have been with us for 7 years and 10 years, and my youngest employee would be about a year, and is to give them a sense of achievement. They have to see what they are doing and where it's coming. for them, for the size to see that, just the simple guy who cleans the horse and sweeps the stable and feeds it, for him to come and see his horse in a competition, winning a medal, and you giving him the recognition, where when you go to pick up the medal, it's not just the rider who goes to pick up the medal, you say, go with him. Because at the end of the day, he's also played a role in it. So there has to be recognition. A pat on the back goes a long way. And at the end of the day, I believe that we're all intelligent thinking people. And if you, like I said, even a low level, even the guy who sweeps the place has to be given, you don't treat him like a substandard person. You have to turn around and let him feel like he is playing a role. He is playing a role that's vital. So the day he sweeps up and does a good job, you turn around, you pat him on the back and you say, wow, now, this is a good job. Why aren't you doing it, more often? And the next day, if we feel that he slipped up and he's like, क्या हो गया? कल तो इतना अच्छा किया था. What happened? Is there a problem? Most times, that's all that it needs. We also do, we took a page out of the Army's book. The Army has a concept which is called the Bada Khana. The Bada Khana is where the colonels, the generals, the jawans, everybody sits down together and they all eat together and they all have a drink together. And that day, nobody is an officer, nobody is a jawan. They're all men. And we do this Bada Khana concept once every 2 months. I sit down and I tell my boys, I'm going to cook the chicken, you make the roti, you make the meetha, you go do this, you go do that, and we all sit together. The next day is an off for us. And we take it easy, and then it's a chance to sit down, it's a chance to connect, it's a chance to hear about their families, this, that, and it works out beautifully. It works out really, really nice, because very often you'll get a lot of input and say, "Arey Baba, par wo ghoda aisa nahi karta hai," and sometimes insight is provided from the most unexpected quarters. So Japalouppe provides, we primarily are a horse riding school, so people come here to learn to ride. So it's all ages, kids, adults, whatever. We also have a vertical where we look after people's horses when they keep them with us. So let's say you have a horse and you want to keep this horse somewhere. It's not an animal that you can just keep. They require a lot of care, they require a lot of looking after, they have to be fed right, and they need their feet to be done, their hooves have to be trimmed right and all. So we do that for them. We provide veterinary services backup. I have a team of excellent veterinary consultants. So let's say somebody else has a horse on their farm which is ill, and they need it to be looked after or medicated. Because I have around the clock supervision capability, we bring their horse in and then we treat it and look after it for them. We provide equine consultancy off-site. So people have, now the emerging trend is for a lot of people to have their own farmhouses. So they look after they have horses on their farms. So we look after them over there, look after their vaccinations, their deworming, their feeding programs, their exercise programs. We provide staffing solutions for them, all of that. We do performance horse management, so people who buy expensive high-end horses that are competing on the national circuit or the state circuit, they need to be treated like athletes. They need to be fed right, exercised right. There has to be a proper program, a regimen. So we consult on that. Way back when we started Japalouppe, my mum put her foot down and she said, "Bas, now you've got 5 dogs. How many more do you want?" And for a guy like me, no dogs is enough. I can have 20 dogs and it still wouldn't be enough. So I started looking after friends' dogs when they were on holiday. And it kind of picked up. So now we have a small kennel service where we keep about 10 dogs. Where, what are the qualities should an entrepreneur have? I would say you have to have a little bit of stubbornness in you. Sort of a never say die attitude, because the way I've seen it is every decision you make at some point will be the right decision, at some point will be the wrong decision. And I think the most important thing is to be able to make a call and see it through. Is to be able to take your failures as a lesson and not be disheartened by them. It's important, to make a mistake, because that's how you learn. And and you have to have passion. You have to be very clear about what you want. At the end of the day, it shouldn't be some vague concept like I want to make money or I want to be big. You have to have a very clear idea. But I think above all, at least from strictly from personal experience, every entrepreneur, because it's something that comes from here. Otherwise, if you were just happy doing whatever, you'd have a job. And the entrepreneurs are the wild cards of the lot. They're the jokers of the pack. They want to get out there. They want to push the envelope. So, really speaking, from my experience, I think entrepreneurs should want to have fun. That whatever they do, whether it's technology, whether it's medicine, whether it's whatever, fun. That's the most important thing. You should be able to finish your day and sit back and say, Maja aa gaya. I had a blast today. Or you should turn around and say, Sala, today was a hard day. I got rogered, but theek hai, we'll deal with it tomorrow. And when the crisis is done, you still turn around and say, alright, that worked well or that didn't work so well, but alright, maja aa gaya.